Out here, some people might call you the quiet one, the one who never speaks up. Maybe someone once called you weak, or a little bit of a failure, someone who always ends up alone in his own life. But they don't know where you actually live. Because in the story running inside your head, you're not the weak one. You're the main character. Everyone else is just a supporting role. In there, you're Superman. You say the perfect line. You win the argument from 3 years ago. You're finally understood. And then a car horn, or a message, or someone saying your name pulls you back. And there's this strange feeling. Half relief, half something heavier. Because for a second, that world felt more real than this one. Nobody tells you this, but that's not a flaw. Your mind built that world on purpose. And tonight, on Cognitive Psychology, we're going to figure out why you keep going back, and why it's so hard to leave. Let's clear something up first, because most people get this wrong. You think you're daydreaming. You're not. Daydreaming is soft, aimless. What you do is something else. You're the writer, the director, the lead actor, all at once. You cast real people. You give them a tone of voice. You watch their face change when you finally say the line you didn't say in real life. That takes real energy. So, the question isn't what's wrong with me. It's why your brain would spend so much to run a movie that isn't real. Your brain is trying to finish something the real world never let you finish. Real life never gives you a second draft. Someone says something that stings, and 3 hours later, in the shower, you finally think of the perfect response. Too late. But your mind refuses to let it go. Psychologists call it an open loop, and the brain hates an open loop. So it turns the projector back on and drags you into that moment again, except this time, it hands you the power you didn't have. There's a name for the part of you that does this. Researchers call it the default mode network. When you're focused, it goes quiet. The second you relax, it wakes up. And for some people, it doesn't just wander, it builds. For some of you, it's running from the moment you open your eyes to the moment you close them. That's not a defect. That's a nervous system that never learned how to sit still. And there's a name for the far end of this. Back in 2002, a clinical psychologist named Eli Sommer gave it a term: maladaptive daydreaming. This isn't a label I'm putting on you, and most people don't fit the extreme. But the people most prone to it tend to score high on a trait called absorption. Plain version, you're the kind of person who can't watch a film without feeling wrecked afterward, who gets completely swallowed by a song. You feel everything louder. So of course your mind built a room where you could feel it all on your own terms. But not all of these scenarios are the same. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because you're going to recognize which room you actually live in. Room 1, the rehearsal. The harmless one. You imagine the hard conversation before you have it. The raise you're going to ask for. The date. And this one works. The words feel familiar, so when the real moment comes, you don't freeze. Room 2, the rewrite. This is where you go back. The argument you lost. The thing you never got to say when you were 14. And in the replay, you win. They finally understand. They regret it. Maybe someone made you feel powerless once, unheard, and this became the softest place to put that pain down. There's nothing shameful about that, but notice, you're not preparing anymore. You're soothing something. Room 3, the escape. This is the one that starts to cost you. Maybe you're happier in there than you are out here. In there you have the body you want, the job, the people who like you. Some of you have built a whole other person to live in that world, someone completely different from you, in another city, another life. It can get so vivid that you catch yourself mouthing the words on the train, then glance around to check if anyone saw. And I want to be careful, because this room can feel like the only warm thing you've got. For a lot of you, in the coldest times, those scenarios were the only thing that gave you comfort, when the real world had none to offer. I'm not going to take that from you. Room 4, the shame spiral, the one nobody warns you about. You're 30 minutes deep. You know, somewhere in the back of your mind, that time is passing, that the world kept moving while you were gone. And when you resurface, there's this aftertaste. Hard to name, easy to feel. Sometimes it slips out sideways. you catch yourself half smiling in the middle of a meeting and have to rearrange your face fast. You're tired of being the main character in a world that doesn't exist while you turn into a ghost in your own real life, so you feel the shame. And the shame is so uncomfortable that, before you've even decided anything, you're already halfway back inside, where it's safe. The shame feeds the need. The need deepens the habit. And the habit quietly eats the space where your actual life was supposed to happen. So here's the part I want you to sit with. You might think you're addicted to imagining. You're not. You're addicted to control. Out there, you can't control what anyone thinks of you. You can't make someone care. You can't rewind time and take back what you said. But inside your head, you are the ruler of a country of one. You write every line. You decide who breaks down in regret and who finally understands you. That's why some of you say you're never lonely. Because you've got an entire multiverse living in there. And that's the real hook. Your mind isn't giving you fake conversations. It's giving you a place where you always matter, where you're never powerless. Once you've felt that, going back to a world that guarantees none of it feels almost unbearable. That's not weakness. That's the most human thing there is. But it comes with a bill. Research suggests your brain isn't great at telling apart what you lived from what you vividly imagined. So the feelings leak. You wake up quietly resentful at someone who did nothing, except in the version your mind ran last night. Or you build a perfect person in your head, and when the real one shows up a little distant, you're crushed, because reality refused to follow your script. So what do? Not fight it. The more you tell yourself stop imagining, the louder it gets. Instead, 3 quieter moves. First, when you catch yourself in there, ask, is this preparing me or protecting me? Preparing means you rehearse it and then go do it. Protecting means you're using the scenario so you never have to risk the real thing. Same daydream, 2 completely different lives. Second, give it a door, not a wall. Let yourself have 10 minutes. Be the greatest director alive. Then the show closes, and you stand back into your real life. You can visit that world. You just don't get to move in. And third, when you've drifted too far, don't use thoughts to fight thoughts. Use your body. Feel your feet on the floor, the cold of a glass, your own breathing. Your mind can travel anywhere, but your body only knows one place. Right here. That's how you come home. Listen, some of those scenarios were beautiful. A few of them held you together when nothing else would. You don't have to be ashamed of the world you built. The tragedy was never that you imagined so deeply. It's that somewhere along the way, you decided your depth was only safe when nobody could see it. But it doesn't have to stay invisible, and you don't have to live in there anymore, because the real thing, messy and unscripted and terrifying, is the only place any of it can actually come true. So tell me in the comments, which room did you recognize yourself in? The rehearsal, the rewrite, the escape, or the shame spiral? If any part of this felt a little too much like your own mind, subscribe and stay with Cognitive Psychology. This is what we do here, quietly taking apart the machinery underneath the way you feel. Take care of yourself out there, and I'll see you next time.